The Cincinnati Bengals are at home to finish off 2020, welcoming a very hungry and desperate 10-5 Ravens club, who still need to do some winning to make it into the playoffs, but at least seem to have their run game firing on all cylinders again as they try and do it.
Making the Giants defense work and now making them pay.
Baltimore's performance last week against a solid Giants run defense is in theory what Ravens football is all about. Gus Edwards, 15 carries, 85 yards, 5.7 per run.
Edwards into the secondary.
J.K. Dobbins, 11 carries, 77 yards, 7 per pop, plus a TD.
Dobbins lunging across for the touchdown.
And of course, there was Lamar Jackson, 80 yards on his 13 carries, good for 6.2 an attempt.
Jackson right through traffic.
Jackson's arm stayed hot too. He threw for 2 scores on his way to a 111.5 passer rating day against the Giants.
Open in the back of the end zone.
Lamar now has put up 4 straight games with a rating over 100, all 4 of them Ravens wins.
Floating it back of the end zone to touchdown.
He was not as effective against the Bengals when he faced them earlier this year, though. He did throw for a couple scores, but he was just 19 for 37, 180 yards, was picked off, and ended with a 71.9 rating.
The quarterback never sees the game.
That was back in Week 5, though, and Cincinnati's pass defense has regressed quite a bit since then. Last week, giving up over 300 yards to Deshaun Watson, 3 TDs, and a rating allowed in the 130s.
That's a perfect pass inside the 10, pushing his way. Touchdown, Texans!
And they didn't handle Watson the runner well either. He hit them for 7.6 a run on his 5 attempts.
This is why you can never count this guy out.
And they didn't fare great against David Johnson in that game either. 12 rushes for over 120 yards.
For David Johnson, who's loose again, dragging Bengals with him.
That didn't stop the Bengals from winning their second game in a row. Brandon Allen last week putting up over 370 yards, 2 TDs, and a passer rating over 125.
Floating one for the end zone. That's a touchdown.
The Bengals also got solid production from its run game, over 160 yards, 2 TDs on over 5 yards a run.
Samaje Perine down the sideline.
But those numbers were put up against the Texans, who have the worst all-around defense in the NFL. The Ravens, on the other hand, do not.
Jones pressure up the middle, and Daniel Jones is sacked.
Baltimore pummeled Daniel Jones to the tune of 6 sacks, holding him to a sub-90 rating and just 6.1 yards per attempt.
Jones pressure again. Jones able to break away.
And sacks played a huge role in their win over the Bengals in Week 5, sacking Joe Burrow 7 times.
Under pressure, and he goes down back at the 35-yard line.
They held Burrow to under 200 yards passing, no TDs, while picking him off too.
You cannot throw the ball late down the middle when you're getting pressure.
In the end, this game is mostly about whether the Ravens can take care of business, but the Bengals have shown the last 2 weeks now they are no one's doormat. And with some of the upsets we've seen down the stretch, anything really is possible. Let's see all those score predictions start filling out the comments section. I know it's going to be mostly people calling for a Ravens win, but there has to be a few Cincy fans hanging out in the jungle who will call for 3 in a row to end it. And for the record, Daniel Jeremiah and Colleen Wolfe picked the Bengals last week. Let's see if either of them let it ride this week.
To start this game, he's got another completion, and that's going to be a Bengals touchdown. Drew Sample into the end zone for Cincinnati. Dobbins to the goal line, lunging across for the touchdown.